Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever it is, wherever you are in the world. Speed gamers around the world, Zelda fans alike, you're tuned into Speed Gaming for week 3. Our overlay will be updated for it, but it is the Randomizer week for Link to the Past Randomizer League. I am Uday Monistic, joined today by Marjevic. How you doing today?
I mean, I always think it's a great start when you're a co-commentator that you've been commentated with so many times before and interacted with so many times, decides to mispronounce your name.
Again.
So, it's a regular, good old standard day, Great, fantastic.
Some of these, consonants that I always get wrong, and I have a weird name as is. It was the itch at the end, right?
So it's the same thing. Anyway, we are now starting week 3 here, first day. First match, It's a pretty exciting one, don't you think?
I'm very excited. We all love shuffled and randomized things, including our names. But this one's enemies. So not only are all the bosses going to be shuffled amongst their pool, 3 of them will repeat, which is the full shuffle for Randomizer. We'll also have shuffled enemies in the overworld, having some interesting implications for which items you need in order to complete things. Good example, Eastern Palace. You don't necessarily have, well, you probably don't have the Igors in the back that require, the red ones that require a bow, meaning that something like Eastern Palace, you might not even need a bow at all.
Yeah, most bosses you can just kill with a sword or a hammer, so there's always the Argus and the Trinexus, which there could be 2 of, we don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But in general, a sword can get you pretty far.
Well, we're off, Marjevich, so both of our runners choosing different starts here because this is an open mode seed. Siberianbull going to get the 20 rupees out of Link's house, and Walther going to start right with the Sanctuary, which had a key for him.
I do worry a little bit about Uncle routes because of, well, things like that can happen, but you can get rollered or Lionel here at Uncle and not get these items, so I'm not too confident on how strong this Uncle route is going to be in Randomizer.
I gotta say though, Siberianbull not too deterred. Actually getting a little bit of health to recover with, but you're right. All these enemies that can do more damage that you don't expect to see. This Gibbo, for example, very annoying.
You could actually, well, hitboxes are a thing. Oh, hello there.
You don't expect to have a Stalfos Knight in the rafters, but Siberianbull gonna save and quit out of there, no problems.
Yeah, Siberianbull is practiced in this. Seems to, during a past practice, evolves with Randomizer deciding to do Uncle anyway, so expecting Lumberjack here as his follow-up.
Yeah, and interesting enough for Walther going to head to the Lost Woods and then immediately save and quit back to Link's house. So this kind of suggests to me they were looking for 50-50 bombs south of the Grove.
Yeah, that's always so interesting that some players, if they don't get the rupees or the bombs, they do the save and quit to Link's house and they know they got the 50-50 farm. Some players are like, nah, I'm already playing the randomize, so let's just randomize more. But these bushes are very precious to these guards.
I mean, if you didn't have a laser defense system for your hidden flute, well, you can get one now today. As it turns out, Hyrule has a special going for BMOs.
This is definitely a new one. You see a heart piece over at Lumberjack.
Ganon on wave 50 of Hyrule Tower Defense. This looks like he's prepared for 51.
Man. Walter gets 2 bombs, and you could ask for a third or maybe even a fourth, but I think he's rather happy with 2 bombs for now.
Yeah, getting at least one on the way into Kakariko does give you an option to farm them at the Bombable Hut in the bottom left corner of the town, so there's an option on the table. That might be why Walther is not going to take the time to dodge lasers. Was that, what was that on the library? Did you see that?
No, I missed that. I was looking up Siberianbull's bomb count and was kind of thinking, where did he get those?
That was our tier 1 tree pull.
So Walter didn't do that?
Yeah, I didn't have a really good opportunity. I'm guessing because he went straight to Lost Woods, he never really stopped by the pole.
Interesting.
Although I think he may have had a chance while he was in the forest. He just saved and quit out of it. So that's a really interesting choice.
Definitely. And also only sitting on 40 rupees, can't buy. I'm disappointed in this Cuckoo Hut.
Well, to give him some credit, he was the last racer of week 2 and the first racer of week 3. So Walther burning the candle at both ends. I appreciate his stamina for doing this.
Yeah, Walter's probably out for some revenge after that loss yesterday versus Gesellschaft.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, you know, it's a tough opponent, so I'm allowed to do that one, right?
Hey, you may have knowledge in that, maybe.
Teammates, you know? But yeah, so Old Swagger Jackson looking to try and get back on the heap. I will say that based on team records, Walther is a favorite to win this just because of how, you know, both teams have been performing so far in the league, but it is randomizer. Any number of things can happen.
Yeah, you could go into a dungeon and end up not being able to kill the boss, and then your opponent just, oh, I have the item, and oh, this was pretty convenient for me.
Yeah, so we haven't had the opportunity to go into any dungeons just yet, but we will find out in short order whether or not any of them are locked behind, you know, enemies that we didn't expect or anticipate. As there are some enemies that do have some hard requirements. Mini turtles, for example, requiring a hammer to kill them. If there's a kill locked room, I don't believe kill locked rooms can have any enemies that require items, but I'm not entirely certain about that.
I do believe that is accurate. Anyway, can we talk about how dead this Kakariko is? There's a moon pearl and a shovel.
You would think there'd be weapons here for how dead it is. There are some potentially topical jokes that aren't going to, you know, fly on this channel. So
for rupees.
That's, you know, I gotta say that digging in front of Sahazrula's house is a strong move. Yeah. Maybe not advised because usually he keeps him in his hut over by Eastern, but
come on, you dig up a fairy but not rupees? 2 fairies?
It's a 2-for-1 bonanza. The shelves are going empty.
I've never seen this before. And I don't think Walter has either. Never seen except for rupees. Where did these fairies come from? Oh, look, 1 rupee. Yeah, well, I'm not dealing with this crap anymore. Just out of there.
Look, I don't even have 7 hearts.
Oh, but Siberianbull does.
Yeah, so Siberian may end up getting some value out of that shuffle.
Is Walter gonna do Hoolihan?
I definitely understand the play here, because, I mean, you want more rupees for later, and until Walther goes to the uncle without a weapon at this point, doesn't have a reason to think that there's more rupees out there.
Well, that probably means that Walter never checked Bottle Merchant, then. He never got rupees.
That'd be correct. Yeah, he never had an opportunity to even buy bombs in the first place.
So, expecting Hoolihan and then going to Lake Hylia shop to buy bombs then, and then go somewhere?
Yeah, I think it would make more sense to head towards the eastern area after this. If you're going to route Hoolihan in, you do want to continue from Link's house. Siberianbull here getting, well, I guess the only polite word is hecked by those lasers, but emerges without having lost more than a large portion of his health. Will get up to 8 hearts actually already, which for 7 minutes into the seed's actually kind of quick.
That's going to be very nice if we do end up getting some Lionels later down the road.
So it sounds like we did actually have enough to check the bottle vendor, according to chat, but Walther coming up pretty empty on that. Alright, so we have a Moon Pearl. We've just checked Lake Hylia Island. I did not see it myself, but Walther will have the ability to potentially consider a fake flipper play all the way to, you know, Waterfall Cave. Siberianbull also on that potential hunt as well.
This is such a Walter move. Go buy bombs at Lake Hylia shop and don't go Eastern. I don't know, he seems like the only one who does this on a frequent basis.
Yeah, it does involve some backtracking. It's not super painful, but I mean, if you want to take out Mini Moldorm Cave, this is a pretty reliable way to do it. Thing is there's nothing reliable about Mini Moldorm Cave in an Randomizer seed.
I mean, this is pretty fine.
Oh, the bomb knockback.
They actually kill themselves. That's interesting.
Oh, you love to see it.
Yeah, I love it when enemies just die for no reason. Was that mushroom and powder?
Yep. So forget your fake setups. We got everything we need.
We're just getting a bunch of fetch quest items in this early game. We're just missing the bottle now.
Well, a fire bar stands between us and the lake. Walther definitely avoiding that, and a mini Helmosaur. And a dead rock, it looks like. We're getting some very interesting enemies in this light world overworld. I'm pretty sure those things don't normally walk on water.
Yeah. I guess Fake Flipper is a bit more dangerous in Randomizer because you could just get hit randomly because there are different enemies now.
Just looking in the water, Zora, you don't look too well.
Good boy.
So that wasn't a terror pin, but it was a mini Helmosaur, and they are actually aquatic animals and land-based. That's quite the biodiversity going on here in South Shore.
Yeah, we will be getting a lot of new A Link to the Past Randomizer lore this week. Just stay tuned for more.
I'm so excited.
So Walter seems to be setting up the Fake Flipper to Witch's Hut here to check this mushroom.
Yeah, I like this play a lot better. This is a much safer decision to make, just for the simple virtue of, hey, you probably don't have nearly as many enemies in your path. Siberianbull taking time to go all the way to Ice Rod Cave, but I just cannot foresee him going all the way back down for the Fake Flipper. If he does, that's a really gutsy decision with one heart.
Oh yeah. It is a heart in that chest, but even then, yeah. I guess this is the week where we learn those who have researched the names of all the enemies in the game and those who haven't. I'm the latter.
Honestly, there's like 3 different conflicting pages out there with conflicting translations and localizations, so I don't fault anybody for getting a name wrong this week. I'm probably going to do it myself.
Are you telling me that Nintendo is retconning information related to a Legend of Zelda?
Nintendo, everybody and their brother, some of the Geocities websites from like 15 years ago. Yeah, there's not exactly consistent information out there for something like this.
Just be grateful your strategy guides are not translated from Germany.
I'm going to take your word for that. That sounds like it would probably end up going afoul somehow.
Oh, yes. It's an experience.
Uh-oh. I'm going to date myself with that Geocities reference.
Well, it seems like everyone got the reference except for me. So let's actually talk about the game instead. So what do we have? Agena, Sahaswala, Eastern Escape?
Yeah, we are reducing our possible options pretty quickly here. I gotta think Eastern's a pretty appealing play at this point. You're probably not going to have nearly as many enemies in it, or at least if you do, they're probably a little easier to navigate around. And on top of that, we'll probably find some sort of weapon. We have a lot of item density in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, there are most items there. Escape. There are Lionel possibilities, you know. Agena is still something, and Walter's gonna go ahead and check that first. Oh, there's our first roller.
You know, they just keep rolling on. Some of the things that you can expect with Randomizer is that some AI for these enemies and, I guess, dangerous props are not exactly consistent to what you expect them to do. Those will move vertically or horizontally, but sometimes the bounds don't do what you expect them to.
Man, we're still looking for, well, something that does something in the seed. And that's also not it.
I mean, as of yet, we are pretty much just Bomberman mode. Mega Man, a close second, but that's a fun sprite to use for this.
Oh, that roller, though. That roller.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Take 4 hearts of damage.
Walter will go ahead and do escape with the 9 bombs. We'll see how well he's practiced with using bombs in these rooms against whatever enemies are going to be there.
Yeah, the good news for Walther is that we'll have an opportunity to get a full refill of bombs on the way in. Not that he was short that many, but extra to work with. And Siberian does have 10 as disposal here in Eastern. So with the exception of Armos, which we do not have an option for yet, this is pretty much clearable.
It is a very healthy seed with blue mail, in addition to actually an item that does something in the flippers.
Yeah, that is our first progress. That is Sphere 1.
Yep.
Well, Sphere 1 flippers in Eastern, not too exciting just yet, but it's something finally. 13 minutes into the race, our runner's trying to figure out when the world's going on with enemies here in Hyrule. This thief, for example, normally you can't kill those. You can in Randomizer.
There is the option for unkillable thieves, but we imagine that mode doesn't exist. So, oh yeah, there's a Lionel.
I hear those are early game enemies. They put those in Hyrule Castle to train you.
I mean, they did it in Breath of the Wild, right?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
This is... I mean, that's not the worst enemy to get. I mean, it follows you. So you know the bombs are gonna kill it easily.
Yeah, the nice thing about Armo's statue, they're slow. I mean, you can really predict their movements if you're keeping enough of a distance, but it's those shadows that you gotta worry about. Those pop up out of nowhere. They do 2 hearts of damage in the light world, even with blue mail, I think. Or maybe just one.
We're gonna learn a lot of things this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is one of those modes where you do want to have a damage table open more than you care so much about, say, like, enemy names, but, like, the thing is if you're not sure which type of enemy you're looking at, oh, that's a mirror.
That does absolutely nothing right now.
But when we realize that this dungeon has nothing for us...
Never mind. Never mind, we got a glove. Now we can sequence break some stuff.
There we go. So we've got some options here. I think Walther, in the grand scheme of things, will have preferred to have gone to Eastern first once he sees that mirror there, because this would have been probably friendlier with a mirror. But otherwise, Walther will probably leave behind the Dark Cross, even if he can do it in the dark.
So we got some options now, but probably still going with the flipper checks first for Siberianbull, since that is what is in logic. Can't really do anything else without the gloves, so yeah, that makes sense.
I am really impressed by his decision to go all the way to the big key skip, as this is not like something you can traditionally do the same way. Like this, this Igor doesn't really like to. But so I mean it's impressive because the dark rooms, you really don't know what enemy's in there. You could take 4 hearts of damage from 2 rollers, twice. So yeah.
Walther starts off with Back of Escape. I mean, you got gloves. Let's go check Back of Escape. Seems like a good idea. Oh.
The Mario cave in here.
Yeah.
This is gonna be such a hilarious week.
Oh boy. For the runners, for us, over the audience.
Everyone. Everyone. Well, nothing in the Back of Escape for Walther. I don't think there is a Dark Cross item based on that configuration, but I wasn't paying close enough attention. I was a little thrown off by the chain chomp. So hopefully Walther remembers.
And those thieves are just going to take bombs in the early game over and over again. That's going to be really annoying.
Yeah, we still don't really have a good option. Now, one thing that we could potentially do is go up the mountain with the sequence break. Sequence breaks being pretty preferable at this point for these runners. Wherever they can save some progression through annoying enemies.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see a lamp or a flute or something along those lines right now to get some more stuff over on that mountain.
Well, here's further flipper checks for Siberianbull, and this looks like it might be the route we need to take.
Okay. Well...
Yes!
Yes, quite. Items. Well, the hammer does, with the sequence break, actually stuff, but without the sequence break, it doesn't do anything, and neither does the game.
Yeah, so I mean, this is still a weird situation for these two. Without the lamp, it's really annoying to really do anything else. I mean, you can technically, with a sequence break, finish Armos. I don't know if anybody wants to do a hammer strat Armos anytime soon. And it's not even potentially Armos. It's any other boss, potentially. So, yeah, this isn't... Yikes.
The Siberian Bull just needs to head over to Escape Now, get the glove, and have the Dark World access with Hammer, which is great, of course.
Yeah, we get to find out an entire Dark World's worth of enemies that are different.
Yay.
Hey.
I mean, I don't really think we say no to that, Kane, because there could be some really big annoyances later down the line.
Well, that's 3 weapons in a row, one of which providing some vulnerability, which is sorely needed in this sort of situation.
Also trying to dodge the roller, but the roller just keeps on rolling.
I'm sorry, what? Just keeps rolling, what?
You know, I can make other song references that no one here is going to get except for Walter when he watches this back, because the song will be in Swedish, but I will use English words to describe it.
See, those are the best kinds of musical puns. You don't gotta sing them.
Yeah, because nothing can stop you when you roll forward.
I'm going to assume that was more hilarious than I am.
Well, someone is going to get that reference.
Good. That's the key. Is it's not about, like everybody. It's about getting at least one person who's like, I get it.
That one person is just like, oh my god, they're talking about me.
Look at that, we got one. All right, so while we have this downtime, while our runners are trying to figure out where in the world they are, let alone who's with them, Siberian Bull's about to go get that glove, it looks like, from Escape, while Walther's about to go get the flippers, and then hopefully the hammer and canes to follow. Those would be the logical conclusions to follow.
And then we have our Dark World, and then we can do things. Maybe.
So you just picked up hammer and glove, Marjevich. What is the start play here? I mean, do you go to Village of Outcasts? Do you go to Hype Cave? What do you think?
Hype Cave does give you more options, because you can either go westwards, do the few checks that are there, and then perhaps do a save and quit, and then go to Village of Outcasts, Skullwoods, and do the shenanigans over there, or you can do the awkward checks and do the pyramid and catfish, which I would say is a little bit more incentivized if the 5-6 setup is particularly bad, in the sense of that you can't effectively route in the pyramid check with Pyramid Fairy. And of course, if you do have a bow, you can just do pyramid into pod. We don't have a bow today, but Hype Cave does have 5 items.
Yeah, it's one of the only couple of bow lock locations in the game. I think it's like the only bow lock location in Randomizer. Just that statue in the back of Palace of Darkness. I'm not missing any other ones, am I?
I believe that is the only one.
Yeah, and that is one of our 5-6 crystals today in Eastern, not Palace of Darkness. We'll find out Palace of Darkness when we get to the Dark World. But so knowing that one of them is there, that might be a reason someone might consider Palace of Darkness sooner.
Well, I have to get into the Dark World to figure out where that other 5-6 is located, but I mean, it is pod 5-6, pod Eastern. Yeah. Well, when you get a bow.
Could be a thing.
If the bosses line up. I do also think that with the mirror, you're a little bit more incentivized towards taking the western route after Hype Cave, because you can check K45 or K without a name or whatever you want to call it, and then just mirror over to Kakariko, and maybe you have a bottle that you haven't checked yet, so you can check that. You have a hammer and the powder, go check the bath, and then you can walk into the Dark World there and do the things that you want to do.
That's a really good point, because a lot of times, when people first get to the Dark World, mirror is often times something that's missing and kind of hard to deal with. Walther.
Oh, we're not doing this.
Oof. Well, the good news is he's only leaving behind a compass, which he may or may not even check later.
Yeah, Eastern may be go-moded later, and then you can skip that and make up some time on that. We are seeing Siberian Bull going to climb the mountain instead.
Now, ordinarily, this is a pretty automatic thing for most runners who can do dark rooms. There are different enemies in here. Normally, there would be bats. They may be giving us some trouble. We're going to see a Samaria carry, which is actually really useful. You can actually see where the enemies are relative to you.
These enemies seem to be a bit stuck in the wall.
Yeah, that because of the spawn points of those bats. Normally, they would be like on the wall. So those red guards, more ornamental than anything. We got a Hinox in the back of the cave.
Yay.
At least the old man is normal.
Oh, yeah. Old. Yeah, Eastern. Pod. Yes.
Did I say old man? I said the bow man, right?
They are synonyms now.
Well, the ancient guy holding up his artifact of archery, making sure that we actually have a weapon, but in the one place we didn't need it.
I would say that there is one concern with this play that Siberianbull is making, that is, there is no guarantee that you can clear Tower of Hera. On the other hand, it is just a pendant, so you may not look to clear it in the first place. You do have a bottle there, so you can check that later when you do return to Kakariko. But yeah, no fire source and no hook shot for Tower of Hera.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't have a means to Harapot yet. We don't know whether or not that big key's in the basement. If it is, we're kind of in trouble. But if it ends up being a situation where we can full clear, we don't end up needing the basement. The hammer's not a bad weapon, let alone Burna, depending on the boss that's up there.
We'll see how deep Siberianbull opts to go, because even if you can climb, you may not want to climb, because it could just be one item or something up there, and it's quite a time investment,
Yeah, so this is kind of like the peas and potatoes of Randomizer. You don't necessarily know how strong of a decision anything really is until you've at least scouted it out. So this might be why we see Siberianbull taking the time to do all this right now, is get the information. Maybe it ends up being something you need a fire source for, or you could just skip it altogether.
Yeah, that also works. It's a pendant onion, you may not need to do it. I am a little surprised Siberianbull did not go for the map check there to get that Dark World information, because if there is a specific layout that could have an impact on your route, especially in a situation where you have the bow and the hammer.
Yeah, so we'll probably get that information from Walther here, who is going to start Hype Cave instead of coming up here to the mountain. I did like the decision to come up to the mountain. There are quite a few checks Siberianbull can get. But Walther not doing his map check just yet.
Well, I guess we're going into the cave first.
Walther making a liar of me.
It's a normal day in the land of Randomizer.
Perhaps he's just intimidated by that out-of-dungeon Zazax.
Was that a reference to something? Anyway, we got a sword, and we basically won't die the seed. Also, that Hinox just parking past all the pump.
I mean, you try to use his own weapon against him.
Oh, Pendant Pod and Ice. But 5-6 in Eastern and Thieves Town.
Well, that's actually pretty exciting. We do have a bow. So, I mean, we have a pretty decent weapon for a fair number of the bosses. Like, between bow, hammer, and sword, we're in decent shape for killing a lot of bosses.
Yeah, this, I would say it actually makes some attempted Pyramid Fairy setup more effective. So a little surprised in Walther going for this first, and unless he's just gonna go, I want to get Pod out of the way, or just go ahead and get Catfish out of the way because it's Catfish and it's difficult to route in Catfish.
Yeah, so maybe these isolated checks, just because of how unfriendly the world is, for this traversal, I could definitely see that. But it looks like Walther will mirror over to the Hyrule Castle, so this might be... I don't even know what to expect from this. Is this Dark?
This is some weird routing that I'm not familiar with. Like, mirroring from Hyrule Castle, or from the Pyramid to go ahead and do Dark Cross, yeah, sure, but... You have so many things that are open to you, and this is your number one priority?
I think this says to me that Walther really just wanted to have a sword to be able to do this. And all things considered, I mean, he's doing pretty well with it. It's just, yeah, I'm in the same camp as you on this. If you can get a lamp before doing this, that's just a way easiasier time. But he has great items to work with.
Yeah, those scars are very unkind.
You gotta watch out for that.
4 of them? It is 4 of them. Oh, and a Kuko for good measure.
Well, that's the thing, is that's the most deadly thing in this basement, is if you anger that Kuko.
Yes. Because you could set up this check here, Dark Cross, with the Pyramid Fairy check. Like you see when you go into the Dark, like, oh, these tons of 5/6, I can go do that, and then maybe try and go ahead and do Eastern. But we're seeing a mirror back out, gonna take the portal back into the Dark World.
I mean, I do think this probably makes a lot of sense if you're going to head east from here, but the thing is I think Walther is either going to Catfish right now or committing to a double dip pod, because he will not have a bow in time.
So, Walter is doing the... I'm gonna be very thorough, don't skip any dumb location, because I think I can just win against my opponent if I don't skip anything silly, and I'm just not gonna skip anything silly, and hopefully I win. Strategy. 2.0 Deluxe Edition.
Which is a valid strategy to take in a format like this. I mean, Randomizer is just so wacky that you expect your opponent's going to have some kind of difficulty executing somewhere. Even the best runners. I mean, there's just so many weird things that can happen in Randomizer.
Oh yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah, so I mean, we've already seen a few weird wrenches and I don't know, boomeranging items coming back at us with enemies. Some enemies that are just like, you know, rollers. You got weird guards. We haven't seen any cannon guards yet, which I'm excited to see somewhere.
Yeah, because they're in the data, in the code, but never actually used in the original game. Flute though. That doesn't... Well, that's our logical access to Death Mountain. That's what it is.
So this puts everything Siberianbull has done except for Eastern Dark Rooms into logic. And that flute is going to be really handy heading west. We'll be able to activate it in Kakariko, but no Titan's Mitts to access Village of Outcasts naturally from this route, so it will be a mirror to get over there.
Yeah, I guess the bow is still out of logic because lamp.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it seems like Walter's just going to do a very thorough route, maybe something like Skull Woods to Graveyard Ledge, and then go for the Thieves Town, hoping to get the mitts. You can do a massive Smith tour down south and then do things. While Siberianbull is doing, I don't know, kind of expected things, I'd say. Like, the Death Mountain play was a little bit out of the ordinary, but in general it does make sense if you really do want to skip Tower of Hera completely, which they did.
I think what most of us are confused about with the Tower of Hera thing is just not even checking the lobby. There could be something very critical there.
Just go in, get the 2 checks, and then leave. I think it would have been perfectly fine. You have the mirror, so it's a quick leave.
However, maybe this reflects a difference in how confident these two runners feel. I mean, Walther would be doing the thorough things, feeling confident that he can out-execute. Siberianbull perhaps skipping things, thinking, hey, I gotta save some time over my, well, relatively stacked opponent.
Yeah, in general, if you do believe that your opponent is going to beat you in execution, doing the same thing as your opponent is it's a pretty bad idea, because they're probably going to head on ahead of you.
Well, I gotta say, things are turning out pretty well for Siberianbull so far. Having found that bottle on the mountain, we'll get the hook shot off the sick kid. And the flute.
Do we just dip Swamp?
You know, Swamp's out there. We've got a few strong components, or not components, strong proponents of that play here in chat.
So, what items do we actually need for Go Mode right now? We need mitts. We need Fire Rod.
I don't think we can really answer that question. We're going to have a Trinex somewhere, so whether or not we need to kill him is the question.
We still need stuff.
I will say, though, yeah, we will need Fire Rod just because of entrance to Skullwood's back and whatever the boss is. Beyond that, a sword.
Yeah, we will need that additional sword as well. So we have Lamp in Skull Woods that puts the bow in logic as well. I mean, suddenly we're just getting all the items after that dead Kakariko. This room looks fun.
You know, is it strange that I probably prefer this over Gibdo's?
I mean, if I had a boomerang, I would prefer to give those, but yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
Well, Skullwood's 2 total items. No idea where they're going to be. Last week we knew they were on bosses. This week we just know that there are bosses. No idea as to what they are or what they might hold yet.
Well, Skullwoods had a lamp and 5 rupees, so we are leaving until we get the fire rod.
Working out pretty nicely for these two as they check and then nope out of there. And actually nearly synchronous too. Despite the fact that Siberianbull has notably more progression right now.
Yeah, it's that massive Death Mountain play and Walter going for the Hype Cave into Dark Cross Catfish, which is something. I am a little surprised with that time investment into places like Dark Cross and Catfish that we're not seeing Graveyard Ledge here.
Yeah, I mean, the thoroughness, as you mentioned, being kind of a priority for Walther so far in this race, as best as we can tell.
Because here's the thing now, you've done Catfish, you've done Skull Woods, in the sense that you have the items. Graveyard Ledge is basically orphaned. It's a long walk to get there for one check.
Yeah, I don't think that he's really looking for an excuse to head that direction right away. I mean, if he's going to head towards Thieves Town after Skull Woods, he's probably not going to be going that direction for quite a while. I will say, though, I am impressed and honestly happy to see it. It's a joy to see it, Walther doing all these chest turns. A darn near every chest he opens.
Some players just has made it a thing to do those. Siberianbull is gonna go ahead and check the cave, get the information at least, and see that there's nothing there. Oh, that's a lot of lag.
Well, Marjevich, it's like you can actually save time if you do a chest turn and succeed every single time and never fail them.
Wow.
And like a couple of frames at that.
Can you teach me to be good at this game, Mr. Sir?
No, I actually can't.
Okay, that makes me happy.
Play a lot? I don't know.
I mean, I don't play this game, so there's that. I think Siberianbull may have wanted that fairy because I'm pretty low on hearts here.
Yeah, this is kind of bad news for Siberianbull, getting really juked. You know, I mean, that spin move that fairy did.
Oh.
Really, he didn't have his contract revoked.
This is gonna be a really slow fight, and Siberianbull's gonna have the bow for this.
Yeah, so any number of enemies or any number of bosses could be anywhere in some Randomizer formats, but we will see every boss, and 3 of them will be duplicated in this league format. So Walther does at least have a sword to work with, but having to deplete all of his magic to use that Cane and Burna is, as you mentioned, a much faster fight with bow.
Yeah, the Burna is not the slowest weapon because you can do it like that, but obviously the bow is faster, but that is crystal number 1.
I will say that Walther made the most out of that situation. Most people who play this game, myself included, would be spending considerably longer on that fight with that equip.
How many items were picked up in Thieves Town since he's not going deeper here? Siberianbull while heading all the way over to Catfish.
Yeah, that's something else to consider. I don't think a lot of people necessarily notice that, is that you don't have to rescue the maiden to do the boss of Thieves Town, because that's all kind of hard-coded to be blind if it's going to be that scenario. So the boss is already there. You can run straight there as soon as you have the big key. I do find that interesting they didn't choose to check anything else.
Basically turning the back of Thieves Town into left side swamp with Randomizer.
Alrighty, well, we're getting a catfish check here from Siberianbull, very out of the way, but so far his checks have really produced, so we'll see if the Quake monster has something for us. Just 20 bucks, and he will save and quit out of there, so Siberianbull has a new route to take at this point. From that save and quit can start over.
Well, Walter's route here is just lining up with getting the flute and then probably walking back and activating the flute and then taking the flute to fly somewhere. Siberianbull, meanwhile, could just go ahead and do Swamp, you know? Maybe not.
You know, I mean, the Randomizer's fickle. You don't necessarily know what's coming for you, so maybe thinking about all the enemies in there is like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
I'm just trying to attempt to figure out why the players are making the decisions that they're making. Siberianbull, Skullwoods all the way over to Catfish, okay? That makes sense. But if you're then going Pyramid, you could have done Pyramid with Catfish, you could have done Skullwoods into Graveyard Ledge, and then routed in Thieves' Town Village of Outcast with that. So this could be a pod play.
Yeah, I think the writing on the wall kind of suggests it. I mean, we have so many good items for the dungeon. If you have your mirror, you know, I mean, you don't worry so much about not having boots. This is a pretty reasonable play to make, I think.
Yeah, because if you could do what Walter did with the Pyramid into Catfish, or you do what Siberianbull did with the Graveyard Ledge into Catfish. And if you do that, then you don't have the Pyramid check. So if you then go and check the Pyramid, well, you're basically saying, I'm gonna go ahead and do Eastern Pod, because why didn't you do Pyramid Catfish instead?
Well, we're gonna navigate some slightly different. Well, actually, no, they're actually pretty normal enemies outside of Palace of Darkness here. Kiki not too perturbed, having a relatively easy stroll. As Walther looking to follow the hook shot to do the big Death Mountain play that we saw from the bottle before that Siberianbull picked up underneath Spectacle Rock.
Yeah, you're following the sphere logic, makes a lot of sense. We'll be able to get the bow from this, and then probably make a call over to the Eastern Pod area, or maybe just take the things that you've got and go ahead and make the Swamp play.
Alrighty, well, that'll be a bow finally for Walther. Well, maybe.
Deadlocks, please. It's Randomizer. Why? Not there. Like, do it in a dungeon or something, not in a vanilla location.
Of all the places to get dead rock. Alright, well, he does manage to get his bow. We'll see if he ends up heading all the way up to Tower of Hera, which we did see Siberianbull skip. In the meantime, Siberianbull, with that bow that he picked up here from the mountain, probably the best weapon for this hallway. Not necessarily used next to him, though.
Well, it's shuffled enemies, so there will be some different enemies here. That looks like 1/3 vanilla. Almost. In a different dungeon. In a different world, in a different universe. Commentators never say anything wrong, you know.
You know what, though? I mean, if you're comparing Igors to Mimics, you're not that far off.
All enemies look the same. Oh, Lionels?
then Mimics.
The Mimics just moved the room away, and we got some Lionels instead of spikes.
Well, there's green enemies everywhere in that hallway. Is this Lizard People hallway?
Oh, boy.
I don't know. What is a Lionel? Is it a centaur?
A centaur that shoots lasers at you or something? I don't know what it is.
It's a Bowser. Don't question it. It's true.
My brain is attempting not to question it, and I'm not sure it's very effective.
This is what Randomizer does to us. I imagine this is probably not the craziest sounding commentary this week.
There's gonna be things happening this week, let's just say it like that.
A chimera, a griffin, much better suggestions in chat. Thank you, Malpheus.
A griffin? But this isn't Heroes of Might and Magic.
For all we know, it may as well be.
I guess.
Well, more Palace of Darkness, Siberian Bull uncovering who knows what in Hyrule we've put in here, but with that mirror, we'll be able to head towards the back of the dungeon. There actually has been some newer tech that's been allowed. Unfortunately, we don't have the boots to do it, but some stair shenanigans we could potentially be doing in the arena room coming up with a Cane of Samaria block.
Yeah, we have a lot of new glitches that are now allowed to be used in the league. Most of them, all of them, unless I'm wrong, involve using the Cane of Samaria.
Yes, yeah, Icebreaker, Diver Down, and, well, I think you can do bombs with, Diver Down, but basically, yeah, there's a Samaria setup for one of the two anyway.
I guess one day we will learn how to dupe bombs using the Cane of Samaria.
That would actually be pretty awesome.
It'd be really interesting.
The rare situations where you start with, like, a Samaria in Link's house, and you're like, oh, wait, I better dupe these.
So, we're actually going to talk about the game for 2 seconds. Walter's done with the mountain, got the flute out, and where are you going with that? Meanwhile, pod is empty except for that bomb.
Yeah, so the good news for Siberian Bull here is he will be able to full complete this, presuming that there's a boss that we can kill. Does not have the big key for the big chest, unfortunately.
Where? Which chest? Has not opened.
Harmless Hellway, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't think he went to the right side of the back here.
No right side at all. Just went into the maze before going right.
Yeah, I think so, because I think he's got the U-shaped, Yeah, I will say that is kind of unconventional.
Yeah. Oh well, it's Randomizer. Your brain doesn't really work sometimes. Not for us here either, in the commentator booth.
Yeah, I fully expect this seed, and this format will break my mind before the end of the week.
And it's only day 1, game 1. Oh, hello there, Shimshums. There's a Lionel before the boss.
This is a heavily guarded boss.
Oh boy. Walter is going for the full clear into Swamp. You know, you can get your 6 items here and hopefully kill the boss while you're here.
I do like this play, but this is a not so harmless.
It's not. It's not harmless. I deny. What? That's a new one. I've not seen that one before.
Oh no.
I don't even know. Day 1 of this week, everyone. Day 1.
Experience some technical commentary difficulties over here.
It's gonna be a long week.
Alrighty, so all these crazy enemies notwithstanding, Siberian Bull has everything he needs to move on to, well, I guess the Lionels in the basement, which are probably not going to be fun. But whatever the boss may be, we finally get to find out.
Okay, well, it's time to get your prediction. Wait, are we doing the prediction game for all the bosses in the game, or are we just rolling with it?
You know, I'm a fan of this. I don't know if we'll be able to do this for every race of every week, you know, a Randomizer that we see in every season, but I'm down for that. I'm expecting that we're going to see Blind here.
Blind. A heavily guarded blind for a green pendant. I like that, I like that. I guess we can talk a little bit about what Siberian Bull is going to do after this. Yeah, let's just burn it all down with fire. Probably just handing in the green pendant and then going for Swamp. Unless the green pendant gives something or the boss has an item.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, with that book, Walther has some other considerations for down the road, but certainly going to finish the dungeon. Ooh, boy, Siberian's got to watch
himself. 2 Shane Shumps and a Lionel.
Almost getting sniped into the door, and who do we got today? Lamolus?
Oh, Lamolus. Yay. Lamolus with sword and bow. Oh.
Hope you feel good with your NMG strats without the top half of the room accessible to you.
Oh, yay. So, book opens up desert, it's a crystal. We don't have boots, so we don't know if we can clear it.
Wow, I'm impressed with Siberian just doing sword spins here. This is like a dangerous strat.
Yeah, half a heart. Taking out the cape, has a green potion in the back. That
Oof.
was about as unfortunate as it could get.
Yeah, because you really don't expect somebody to like try and go back for the boss, but Siberianbull, not deterred, will end up trying to get that green pendant, which is an interesting decision. Must really be expecting something of value to either be here or on Sahasrahla.
Siberianbull may just be in the sense of that this is the kind of play that I need to make to have a shot at taking home a win here. And we did see there is no compass, so the compass is still in, and the big chest was not open. So this is a 50-50 for an item. Oh, that was a cold stare. So Walter says, nope, I'm not doing this. Nope.
Which is
But
really
that-
interesting because yet again, that's another instance of Siberianbull finding the item that Walther needs first. Here in Palace of Darkness, we found that Bombos.
Almost being in pod is good for Siberianbull. So Walter is gonna go dip into desert. I mean, you're here. Could just as well do it.
All right, so while Siberianbull makes his way back to the Lamolus fight here in Palace of Darkness and Walther enters into Desert, just a brief overview of how Randomizer boss shuffle works. This full boss shuffle will have all 10 bosses, including 3 refights, which are randomized, so we don't know which bosses we'll see twice. They can't appear necessarily in any given room. There are some limitations in the game's engine, so Aghanim 1, Aghanim 2, and Ganon, they're not shuffled. Both of the Moldorm arenas are unique. You cannot have, or I believe it's Armos, Argus, Blind, Trinex, and Lamolus. You can't have those there. Lamolus 2 cannot have Blind, and Skull Woods cannot have Trinex.
Yeah, there's some unique characteristics among various places. Okay, so we have a sword in the desert. Well, that's something. And it is in fact boots locked over in desert, so I have to wait for that one. As Siberianbull down 1 Lamolus, 2 left.
Yeah, getting to see some bow and arrow strats being used here. It's kind of hard to fill your ammo after doing this, unless you go into Eastern following this, which has plenty of opportunities.
And Walter is opting for an Eastern pod play now. He's running quite low on locations to check. He does have Graveyard Ledge, which we know is nothing since Siberianbull checked it. We have Spy Cave.
Oh boy, Siberian making it look real scary here with 2 hearts remaining. We'll get the green pendant and a piece of heart. We'll also get a full heal, which is one of the nice things about finishing a boss.
Yes.
And in Randomizer, it really pays off.
Well, now it's the question, was that time worth investing?
And we might not find out for a minute. Siberianbull getting a high 5 here with Walther. Gonna head into Eastern.
Right after this commercial break, no.
Well, no messages from sponsors. The Hyruleans perhaps not too keen on investing in such a jumbled, enemized world.
Yeah. I mean, even Sora decided, hey, I need this blue cane for my own protection in this world. But I guess it's time to guess, what is the Armos today?
Yeah, so the Armos Knights, that's a room that can have quite a few different enemies. It's not a large super tile, so I don't expect to see, like, you know, Moldorm on it, but I'm gonna guess it's our second land mullish.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Looks like Walther has found that Bombos here in Palace of Darkness, routing a little bit differently based on that, looking to head towards the front to grab more keys, it looks like. But I have to wonder if he had any kind of visceral reaction in the moment to that.
This room looks not the worst I've seen this room as.
Yeah, I call that pretty tame. There is a floor master in here, though.
I'm not really expecting Walter to finish off the pod here. He's gonna know that there's gonna be an item on it, on Helmasaur, and of course it is a green pendant. You just picked up the bombos, you can go kill a boss. You can mirror over, do Eastern, hopefully can finish off Swamp, and then straight from Swamp go set up the Pyramid Fairy. If you can clear Eastern, that is.
Right. I will say that if Walther is going to do this at all here in Palace of Darkness, he's going to give it one shot. I don't think he's going to go twice at this the way that Siberianbull did.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, this room is easy. Oh, we can kill you.
Argus is in the house.
Fight. Yay. Walter having Master Sword is going to help here.
Yeah, so Master Sword makes this a considerably more fun fight to do. It's definitely faster. Walther contending with Pengators as Siberianbull shows us the menus of his people.
Well, Walter took a fall into a hole, which means we have to redo the bridge again. This time prepared, brought powder.
Yeah, that's a smart choice. I mean, while there are a couple of other anti-fairies in this dungeon, you don't necessarily know when to expect them if you haven't finished it yet. So, good timing to pick up that powder then, or that fairy then. Things going pretty well for Siberianbull so far here in the Argus fight in the Eastern. Argus and Eastern, the Argai of the East, so to speak. Having to menu quite a bit.
You know, we're almost an hour in. The Siberianbull will now be able to get the first crystal.
Yeah, we have only seen one other boss completed on Walther's side, which is Thieves Town, which was a 5-6. So with that plus Eastern, he'll be able to actually do the Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, I do think that the swamp into Pyramid Fairy is going to be the call here for Walter. Siberianbull here, Crystal 1. Don't really care about that shit.
Alright, well, extra shield for Walther, the first crystal for Siberianbull. Where Siberian goes next is a good question. I want to say probably turn in that green pendant, but I would think maybe Swamp?
Yeah, I think Swamp after the green pendant, unless the green pendant is something big like Mitts.
Yo, shoutouts to Siberianbull using good niche knowledge, carrying a bomb over the portal to make sure you didn't bonk into it. If you carry that or a Samaria block, you will never activate a portal.
Here's the moment of truth for Siberianbull. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, depending on where the fourth sword is. But it's not worth the time investment.
Yes, I mean, there is a chance that, you know, Walther never comes back for that. I mean, I think it's pretty likely that Walther never comes back for that. So, I mean, if a third sword ends up being the difference between certain boss strats, I mean, I would feel more confident about this play for Siberianbull if Walther wasn't as good as he is.
Yeah, the sword in Desert is very clearly going to be picked up by Siberianbull unless you get to Gomo Desert. And Walter just decided, I'm not even gonna bother with the boss in Palace of Darkness, I'm just gonna go ahead and do Eastern. And Bull is going Thieves Town, I presume. Set up Pyramid Fairy 5-6 and probably do what I believe that Walter is also going to do, which is the Swamp into Pyramid Fairy.
Okay, so I like this progression. Takes it south, all the way down to swamp after this, or likely swamp after this. We're never entirely sure in an Randomizer seed. But that does give him the full route all the way back up to the pyramid. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
It's a little bit unfortunate that Siberianbull forgot that they had a flute, so they walked all the way to Kakariko.
Yeah, that's a time that you probably don't want to give against an opponent like Walther.
Well, it's Randomizer. It's gonna do some things to you.
Yeah, to be fair, these two haven't lost their sanity yet. We're approaching the precipice of that, I'm sure, in the commentary booth. I'm impressed with these two runners. So if you haven't yet, and you want to see them run more crazy settings like this one, give them a follow on their personal Twitch channels. I'm sure they got more of this and many other things to come. And the remaining Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 2 weeks ahead.
We will have a lot of matches for you this week and the upcoming weeks. Like last week, we managed to broadcast every single match for week 2. That's 64 matches in 1 week, which is insane. That's on average 9 matches a day that were broadcast live.
Well, hey, none of that's possible without the viewership, too. So thanks, everybody here for tuning in. Wow, bomb drops. Holy cow. Hope was in the bomb drop prize pack.
Well, Walter is probably never going to use those 10 bombs. Siberianbull setting up an interesting portal there. I wonder if that's going to be used after this bat check, but you can see how much faster this boss is with the Master Sword over the hammer menu straps.
Not only that, but Walther's doing a really good job of it. I think he's only dropped like 1 or 2 double spins here so far, so I mean, that's an exceptional Master Sword fight for Argus. That's a very difficult strat to do effectively.
Now, we've just hit this 1 hour mark, and Walter's going to be able to pick up crystal number 2 here. And your first 2 crystals are the 5-6.
It's a pretty weird scenario. You put it that way. I'm getting the impression, Perchevich, that you have some opinions about this Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, it's probably nothing there.
You know, it certainly seems par for the course if that were the case. Looks like both of our runners will avoid their portals. Walther almost having some issues with that, but will manage to save the time that Siberianbull didn't with a flute.
To be fair, we are running low on checks here. What do we have? We have Pyramid Fairy, left side swamp, back of Thieves Town. Oh, we still have Tower of Hera and Spy Cave.
Yes, I mean, the checks are dwindling, but none of them are really all that appealing, you know, that you really want to do. I think Siberianbull here will end up checking the back of Thieves Town in this trip. I mean, we have everything we need for it, so I don't see why you wouldn't at this point.
Well, Walter going back into swamp can now kill the boss thanks to bombos.
Now that's going to be 3 crystals on the board by the end of this dungeon. Walther already having done everything except for killing the boss will have a straight shot to the back. Siberianbull, in the meantime, has to complete this dungeon. You know, the remaining 2 or 3 checks here in the front, and then all the back, depending on if he decides to just go to the boss or not. I would say this is a pretty hefty total completion advantage for Walther at this point.
Yeah, that death in Palace of Darkness for Siberianbull hurt a lot, unfortunately. But still, it is Randomizer, and if Bull checks the back and Walter decides to not return here, and there is something useful back there, like mitts, then it's pretty good. Or maybe it's boots.
Yeah, mitts or boots would give us a lot more overworld to check. Boots not nearly as much as mitts, but mitts, you know, kind of necessary for the completion of this. So we'll see the Armos fight that Siberianbull has here. It should be a little bit faster than Walther's if it's a fast kill. But otherwise, if it's not a fast kill, then Walther's actually would have been quicker.
Oh, yeah. It is still a crystal, though.
I put Siberianbull at 2 on the board at 1 hour and 2 minutes, hour 3-ish. As we see Walther heading towards the left side swamp, it looks like.
I mean, you've been in Swamp once. You know that there are X number of items left. I don't know how many because I can't do math. We're also seeing Siberianbull going back into the back of Thieves Town.
I think it's an interesting choice to do this after you've already completed the boss. You would think you would do it in the first time through, but maybe Siberian Bull is looking to hold on to hearts for the fight, not knowing what it was yet.
I also don't know which one is faster. I mean, you could also just hope that, oh, blind has the item, and then I can move on with my life, or whatever blind is. I mean, blind is blind. Blind might not even know that blind is blind. I don't know how that
Are
works.
you saying we're blind to what the boss is in this dungeon until we get there?
I'm saying that blind may have a little bit of darkness within darkness going on.
Thankfully, we didn't find him in Palace of Darkness, otherwise we would have truly been blind leading the blind.
Yeah, the darkness is the light.
Well, we're here in the Dark World. Both of our runners looking to try and catapult or propel themselves forward. Nothing like a trebuchet to work with. Unfortunately, we're still short of our most powerful lifting item, and throwing item at that, and a fire rod.
Yeah, we're still looking for items. As tends to be the way of the game. And then you get myths and then the entire seat is open and then it's, where do I go? Question mark. That's why you really like that mixed go mode situation.
Yeah, on the one hand, you know that, well, actually on both hands, you know that it's blocking a lot of progression in the overworld, and so you don't have as many things you got to do. Being that we do have two swords at our disposal for both runners, it's a pretty comfortable point to be getting, a Mitz Goma. We want that fire rod first, I think.
Yes. And then, of course, there's always the accidental Trinix. I guess we can call it that.
Yeah, now that you mention it, we have not seen one yet. And there's entirely a possibility that that's the boss of Tower of Hera, I think, right?
Yes, maybe? I don't... I don't think it can be there. I don't know. I don't know what the current situation is with this.
No, it can't be on Moldarm. I actually said it earlier too. I'm sorry. But we could potentially.
You're contradicting yourself.
I know. It's totally the first time ever.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll give you a pass then.
All right. Well, Cold Stare Puffs on the menu for Walther here. Looking to hammer away at this crystal progression. Potentially a slash or two at disposal as well. Looking like a pretty good fight, but he's down to pretty low health.
Yeah, for some reason the ice is a part of the boss, for some reason. And not bound to the arena. Okay, Siberianbull is gonna do Pyramid Fairy before Swamp. So Walter gets crystal number 3.
Which, if this were to be something like a Fire Rod or a Mitz, would be pretty huge for him. Would at least make the rest of the decisions about dungeons pretty straightforward. I think we expect to see Walther do the same thing here, though.
Because are you gonna save and quit and do Tower of Hera now? And then do Spy Cave after that?
Yeah, those are good choices as well.
Probably if this is empty, that is what we're gonna see from Walter. Siberianbull probably is heading into Swamp because it's a crystal and hasn't been there yet.
Apparently, according to chat, we actually had a fire rod on Lake Hiley Island. I didn't catch that earlier in the race, so if that's the actual location for that, we're pretty close to what we need.
Well, first of all, do we trust chat? Second of all, Pyramid Fairy had nothing.
Yeah, I do think that... Oh, Floating Island, top of Death Mountain, that makes more sense. Okay. But yeah, so, I mean, Pyramid Fairy coming up empty is interesting considering the implications of where these crystals were in the first place. Like, I think any sane person feels good about checking this early.
I think chat is in Randomizer Chaos now as well, except it's Itemizer that is going on right now, so...
Randomizer.
Yes, just a normal situation in Twitch chat. The emotes are shuffled. So Siberianbull going into swamp, and Walter is going somewhere.
Maybe not over a rainbow, but definitely over a portal, and maybe even over a moat and a bridge. Walther gonna flute away from the castle. The second time he's mirrored there.
All these references are just going way past me right now.
Before color TV, maybe.
Wait. What's a TV?
Valid point. I just look at monitors myself, but Walther gonna make the play to head up towards Hera. Whether or not this is actually the Hera, I mean, there is a ether tablet he could check as well. The Spike Cave, as you mentioned previously, Marjevich.
Oh yeah, Siberianbull may, with the book that's in here in Swamp, probably just go get the item that's on Bomble's tablet. We know that's nothing. Then head into desert and see that, oh, there's a sword here, but now I'm boots locked. And then probably following Walter. But we don't know what's on the ether tablet. That is true.
Yes, I mean, good on Walther to remember this while he's on the way up here, but I mean, this does feel like Pendant Hera to me. I don't think you're really up here just for this tablet.
Unless this is something good.
Maybe you are just up here for this tablet.
So now we can go do Dark Death Mountain and say goodbye to Tower of Hera. Unless Walter's gonna... Okay, goodbye Tower of Hera. Was nice knowing you, but not in this seed.
You came close. You were so close to being a boss that we cared about.
Poor Tower of Hera. What even is a Hera?
You know, I mean, I'm actually not sure on that one. It's somewhat similar to certain, like, you know, mythological names, but it's not quite.
I'll pretend that I know things, but I don't.
I'm genuinely at a loss here, and that's kind of rare for me.
Well, we need ether. It's probably in Hookshot Cave, because that tends to be how it works.
Petition to rename... Oh, it was a Greek goddess, okay. Petition to rename it Tower of Herapod instead.
Wait, but does that mean that Legend of Zelda follows Greek mythology? Oh,
I mean, it is... That's pretty mean. That's pretty mean.
That was the best snipe I've seen in I don't know how long.
Remo says, no entry, you are not allowed.
It's just out of nowhere, it's got shut down.
It's super mean, too, because, like, you gotta barely avoid him to get that last chest.
Well, the medallion was not here. I guess there was a rod up on the island.
But so, yes,
anyway, yes, do continue.
To address your point about mythology, well,
Oh,
so... Anyway, Tower of Hera, apparently Zeus's wife, sister, something, they're weird.
In Greek mythology is canon in the Zelda universe, apparently, I don't know.
But the Japanese name is Legend of Zelda, or basically Zelda no Densetsu, Kamigami no Triforce, so it's Triforce of the Gods. I'm assuming that's why there's a mythological name involved.
Well, I know that the book in the first Legend of Zelda is called Bible in Japanese. So how does that work?
Pulling from a pantheon or multiple
there
pantheons?
Was Ether. Okay. Well, Ether was in the wrong cave, but I guess it works. But yeah, you may be right.
Let me just say this much: the Japanese are better at borrowing culture than I am. I'm certainly having more trouble with that than they would. They've tied together quite a few interesting references in this game, and speaking one that really dates this game. If you pick up the hammer in Palace of Darkness, like in the original Japanese 1.0 version, they reference MC Hammer. That's how old this game is.
Yeah, didn't this game come out in like 1991 in Japan?
Yep, the year of birth for me.
Yeah, same. Man, I'm so young.
Look, I thought we already established ourselves as old boys in the beginning of this commentary.
Yeah, I guess we did. Anyway, if we're gonna talk about the game, Siberianbull did decide to go ahead and do left side swamp for now, go and clear the boss. Walter's just, going to Turtle Rock because we're on the mountain and we can go into Turtle Rock. And there's a chain shot there. Hello there. Hello, Moldorm.
He's having some problems.
You're just thinking very hard.
It turns out many Moldorms can hover. What's your excuse? Like, I mean, you know how to hover, right?
Yeah, I've played this game like 5 times. Surely I know how to hover.
Look at that guy
press
mash.
this turbo button that is totally, absolutely not allowed under any circumstances. But I never raced, so yeah.
All I'm saying is that mini Moldorm is mashing at 30 hertz, and I'm impressed.
Man, 30? That's a lot. I can't even get up there. I'm still on PAL.
I was gonna say, EU's a little different, isn't it?
What is going on in this commentary?
I don't know. Randomizer's crazy. We're having fun. Chat, are you guys having fun? Let us know. Because if we gotta change course here, I better start adjusting sails.
Well, there's no boat in this Zelda game.
I think Walther wishes he could have some sort of airship, and I'm sure Siberianbull wishing to possibly have some better way of navigating the waters. Without boots, doesn't really have much of a rudder to speak to.
I'm just gonna pretend that sentence had words and just say yes.
Look, I've been playing a lot of nautical games lately, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. So, we might be in Swamp Palace, but Siberianbull doesn't know yet that he has what he needs for this boss, Bombos to kill Cold Stare. The real question on our minds right now, though, is what is going to be in Trinex's vanilla spot?
Trinex?
Yeah, I've made the guesses, so it sounds like your guess is for Trinex this time around.
Yeah, Trinex for Trinex. Because why not?
Sounds like an even trade. If we find Ice Rod and the Laser Bridge, even better. But we'll get to find out in a couple short minutes here as we see Siberianbull do the Cold Stare fight in similarly scary.
That's the red potion, so we're cool. Oh, there's a B2. That B is not. You're actually gonna let. Never mind. Who am I to judge? If you want to cause a lot of lag, go cause your lag.
Looking at it, I think this may have been a tactical decision specifically for the sake of having more time to line up his shots. I mean, it looks like it's working for all intents and purposes.
Lag straps.
Honestly, I wouldn't think of it myself, but it's a smart play here.
I guess it makes a lot of sense. I'm outbrained.
I'm just very surprised by it.
The bee continues through the crystal scene. Does it think it's honey or something?
Not for lack of trying. Like, I mean, is that like the dance that they do when, bees try and tell the rest of the colony where the honey's at? Because it was seriously, like, spinning around that thing 90 times.
We should maybe talk about this mimic room being a little bit different.
I did not see the enemies in it. Looked away right at that moment. What do we see there?
Well, the enemies were whatever, but you can walk over on that right side. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is strange. So the hammer pegs, no longer a thing. That's normal. Does anybody know why that is?
The hammer pegs are still there.
Oh, the rail on the right. Okay. Well, yeah, same question, though. Does anybody know why that is?
I mean, it's because the enemies over on the right side may be something that you can't reach normally, so let's just make sure that you can get there.
Honestly, Marjevich, it sounds to me like coward mode.
Well, what is your score so far this tournament, Yudai?
I've only had one race. I may have lost it. It was the highest scoring person in the league that week, so I don't feel that bad. But yeah, I totally lost my race.
Well, I'm just gonna say I didn't know that, so it's a good thing that worked out for me. Hello, Pokey. Hello,
No,
Roller.
this has been a lot of fun. A lot of fun to both commentate and play in. Big shout outs to Fear Agent and everybody else on the mod team, yourself included, for making this an enjoyable experience.
Why am I a mod again? Anyway, Siberianbull finished up Swamp, picked up crystal number 3. Probably check Bumble's tablet on the way. There is no book. Maybe there is a book. They must have book. It was in Swamp. I don't know. But now they're in Desert. They definitely have book. So we're gonna see that this is boots locked.
Yeah, so with that boots locked information, Siberianbull has some choices to make. Opting to continue to the right side. I think we didn't check this chest for the small key, I'm thinking. I didn't actually take a good look at this the first time through.
This is the small key. See, I'm psychic.
Oh, we get bootsless laser skips from Walther here, and now that he has everything he can possibly do in Turtle Rock, nothing left for the boss, and we don't know what it is yet. Your guess, Marjevich, was Trinex, and that would actually be pretty funny.
Yeah, because that's why we're here. Fun. Siberianbull's gonna pick up the Tempered Sword here in this chest. He's gonna be very happy about that. Did Walter just walk into the hole before the block spawned?
I'd be a liar to say I hadn't done it myself before.
And the liar say it wasn't the first time. That's not a Trinex.
Lamolus 2?
Boring.
Yo, but it's purple.
Yeah, I like purple. Okay, I can accept this a little bit.
Is that purple or is that blue?
Okay, here's the thing. My sister purposely asks me about colors because she knows I always say the wrong colors. Don't ask me about colors, and I swear I am not colorblind.
Is it white? Is it gold? Is it
Can I ignore you for the next 10 seconds?
Age-old internet memes at this point. Well, that is another crystal down for Walther of Old Swagga Jackson, looking to try and get up to 9 points for his team this week.
Where are we going now? We have 4 crystals at the 120 mark. We may be in go mode once we get the boots. I guess we're going Meyer. We have all medallions and we can get in with the hook shots.
And in the meantime, that'll be a Titan's Myth for Siberianbull, finding the missing component of the overworld. So, yeah, I mean, I think at this point, we just need to know where Trinex is. Otherwise, this is go mode, isn't it?
Trinex is probably in Hera. If Trinex actually in Hera. No, wait, Trinex can't be in Hera. That's why Trinex is in Hera. In our hearts.
Makes enough sense to me. Or is Hera in Trinex?
Huh?
I don't know. But the Moldor Marinas, both of them, can never have Armos, Argus, Blind, Trinex, or Lamolus. We've seen both iterations of Lamolus so far. We have not seen any other repeats. So all of the other bosses still on the table for that.
Well, we will have to wait a little bit longer before we get into our prediction game again. Siberianbull has to go grab the Ether and the Fire Rod here. We'll grab the Ether first, then grab the Fire Rod after that. Hopefully not get sniped by the laser beam. Pew pew. And we're just waiting for Walter to just go the merry-go-round here into Meyer.
I do think that you have a good point, though, about Fire Rod leading us to Skullwoods. It is a crystal we can complete. I wouldn't be surprised to see Siberian immediately head over there, but checking the Meyer area while you have the newly acquired mitts is also just as strong of a play. Guess it just depends on what the boss is.
Well, we have both items in Skullwoods already, so you will just be going there for the boss. You can always kill the boss, get the crystal. You may not get better equipment, so it may not be faster later. You can mirror and do your pet check shenanigans if you want to do that. Wow, Siberianbull did not get sniped.
He's been practicing his ducking, dodging, dipping, diving, and dodging, apparently. If you can dodge a BMOS laser, you can dodge a Trident.
Well, it's a normal day.
Caping for precaution.
Let's not judge, okay?
Well, not
We've
only
all been there. Well, I've never been there because I've not played this game enough, but everyone else has been there.
Not only does he cape to avoid the BMOS, but he gets 1.0 on his way down, which is like the ultimate kick in the teeth.
Does the Fantasy League have like extra things for getting lasered into holes?
I don't know. There's just something about this game that really likes to do that.
It's almost like it's a randomizer. There's just a little friendly cuckoo here in this room for Walter. Aww. Walking
Friendly now. You know, on the bright side, at least those Kukos can't get hurt by, like, you know, environmental damage. Because, like, if he could take damage from those spikes, that'd be a much different, much more feathery predicament he'd be in.
feathery.
Oh, I imagine things would be,
Weathery.
I don't have a... Yeah, there's not a better way to say it. Seeing some concerns about there being a gold guard in the northeast Misery Mire room there. That was just a palette thing. That's just a regular green guard. Or a blue.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes. Let's be fair here. This game is old and is not really designed for this. Sometimes I even wonder how these randomized even work. I guess there's a lot of duct tape involved.
You know, that's actually kind of an interesting subject. A lot of the things that we have today are made possible by pretty much the changes that happened to the randomizer when it became a web-based patcher. It became open source, so everybody was able to develop off of it, and that platform kind of gave a lot of people opportunities to do fun stuff like this. You know, Entrance Randomizer exists because of all those forks that have, you know, branched off from that. So really the open source nature of this community is the real reason something like this even is possible in the first place.
That was back in ye olde days, like 2016 or something.
And even before then, I think. But yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
Wait.
like 2016.
Before the internet existed?
That is effectively our attention span on the internet, isn't it?
Something like that.
Do I got to reference Ceiling Cat?
I barely remember that. Oh no.
The old days. Well, you have about as much chance of finding that as a Trinex in a Moldorm room. Let's just put it that way. In this game, at least.
I mean, I remember the old memes from the old days, like 12, 13 years ago.
That's okay.
And people did just say meme to literally everything in existence.
Honestly,
I remember the old days when Twitch chat was fun and people posted frankercy for no reason, and now everyone's here with their unfun "oh my dogs" and other terrible dog emotes.
Oh come on! Oh my dog is great.
Frankercy is still the best emote on Twitch.
No, but I mean, like, you know, the old memes in the Link to the Past community, even, you know, talking about corrupt strats and stuff like that. This community's come a long way. You've started something, and I like this thing that you started.
This is my time to shine. I have no idea what's happening even more. Siberianbull's walking through Turtle Rock, basically Walter's tail, because it's a pretty linear setup right now. Walter's clearing the mire. I wish there were more things to talk about, but we're just kind of waiting for bosses to show up and see, hey, where are Boots? And where is Trinex?
Yeah, because I mean, those are really the only components that we're not sure about at this point. Boots could potentially be required specifically for the purpose against our big key.
Boots are 100% required in order to beat Desert.
We could, yeah, that's a good point. We need it for the torch in order to get to whatever boss that is back there. And then we don't know if we need the ice rod yet or not. Trinex could be in any number of, you know, tower. Well, it can't be Tower of Hera. I guess unless Trinex is on Ice Palace, we'll probably need it.
Yeah, Ice Palace is a pendant. Maybe we should just focus a little bit about the game. A little bit. I don't know.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Interesting gameplay coming from both of these runners. Walther not choosing to do any sort of spooky setup without having boots to work with, so we'll be doing kind of standard completion of the back half of Misery Mire here, while we get to see Siberian Bull heading towards... Wait, what do we have on Trinex again?
Another boring land mollusk.
Yeah, so a second Land Mollusk fight. Whether you consider it Lammo 1 or Lammo 2, I guess, is subject to interpretation.
Oh, hello there. So, did you know that Mothula not being in Mothula's room is actually a very easy boss?
You're saying the spikes present some challenge.
And the spikes may actually be the real boss. And they were not the friends we made along the way.
And conveyors totally not an issue in this fight.
Never mind about that thing I said like 45 minutes ago about the sword.
Well, that's actually really great knowledge and good news for Walther here, because Siberian Bull looks to be avoiding heading to the Mire area right away. Turtle Rock being completable, didn't know until getting the last medallion that he could even do Misery Mire. So I mean, that will be a gold sword for Siberian Bull, probably not a gold sword for Walther, but that's actually still slanted in Walther's favor. If you have tempered and you're good at tempered, that's really all you need.
Yeah, the damage difference going from master to tempered is way greater than going from tempered to golden. And Walther is gonna be poked a little bit, but it's still a friendly enemy, and then go into ice.
At least at this point, it's not going to result in a soft lock or any kind of death. Wow, that mini Helmor has a mission. Did not accomplish it.
Is that a vanilla enemy? Is that thing always there?
Is this even enemized? I'm only doing that bit once.
But is that really always there? Because that means the entrance is fire locked. How does that work with the logic? Because the mimics are shuffled.
So my understanding, and this is something that, Chad, there may be members out there who, play more Randomizer than the two of us do. My understanding is that usually the logical requirements remain the same for entrance. So, like, if you want to get to the back of Palace of Darkness, you're always going to need that bow. But, like, when it comes to having a bow, you're expected to have it, say, for the back of Eastern Palace, even if you don't strictly require it to get there.
We get smart people in chat that Freezer is always vanilla.
Yeah, so...
Oh, there's our Lionels. There we go. We've been waiting for you. I don't think Walther has her.
Oof. Those guys are cooler than cool.
Well, you have a cane, so...
Time for an icebreaker. It looks like Walther going to show off this newly tournament legal, Racing Council legal tech that allows us to do some weird things with Link's door state to clip through this actual railing here.
Yeah, we're super pitfall now.
So, Marjevich, do you have a good explanation for that, or do you want me to take it?
You can do that, I don't know.
Alright, so when Link is entering and exiting doors, the game doesn't want him to collide with things. That could be bad for certain situations. So if you put yourself on a very specific pixel, clip one pixel into that railing, and then place a block, you're sandwiched in a weird spot that allows Link to abuse that door state and clip through the railing. You're not supposed to be able to stand there. So that's basically what we're allowed to do now. It allows us to make Ice Palace routing considerably more friendly.
Yeah, just makes Ice Palace more effective to go through. All these buffs to Ice Palace, maybe we should bring back the hints, or no?
You might hear some pretty opinionated people on that one.
Yes.
Alright, so
all three items
as well.
Was that all 3 items already?
Looks like it, so Walther's not sticking around. That does mean we don't know what the boss is. I've got a weird sneaking suspicion, Marjevich, that we're gonna find a Trinex in Ganon's Tower.
You may be right on that one. Okay, so Walther is going... Smith Chain? Graveyard Ledge? Smith Chain. And Siberianbull is probably going Mire. This is a slow seed.
Yeah, I gotta say, all things considered, this has not been very friendly to our runners. I mean, we had some opportunities to pick up some decent equips, you know, good 15, 20 minutes into the race. But beyond that, I mean, we've been having to do all kinds of really slow, arduous checks. And clearing these bosses in these dungeons have been pretty difficult overall.
Well, Siberianbull is going to go ahead and just clear out Skullwoods, get the crystal that's there, and probably mirror check Ped, and then go somewhere. Probably Mire, or if Ped is required, go do something else. It's too late to use the red boomerang for some Ancilla fake flipper stuff. Because we have flippers. And we're kind of 90 minutes into the game.
We didn't really get a lot of chance to showcase those glitches, unfortunately. Well, turning in the blacksmith, gonna see the back of Skull Woods as well.
Well, we have our ice rod, so where's our Trinex?
I mean, that's great news for Walther, just being able to not have to worry about that at all. I'm kind of curious as to why maybe he's grabbing this, oh yeah, because he still needs the boots.
Yeah, we still need the boots for desert. So we are boots from Go mode. That's great. Lovely. Everyone. It's fantastic. Siberianbull has miscounted items in Skullwoods, unfortunately.
To his credit, it was quite a long time ago that we were actually in the front half, probably like almost an hour.
Yeah, it was like an hour ago. Okay. Walking hitboxes are interesting in this game.
This is one of those scenarios where I think the smart play here to deal with this Gibdo is to just try and knock him into the pit.
Just ignore its existence and hope that it works and kill it.
I mean, I can't really knock the performance of either of these runners in this race, let's be real. I mean, they're doing pretty well, all things considered, and it's really easy for me to play armchair commentator. Like Dead Rocks. I never have to deal with the Dead Rock in this position.
That's an awful Dead Rock. Yeah, this is also not the mode that you play that often, or ever. You can do that and turn them into a potato.
Yo, that's great knowledge from Siberian.
But of course, if you've already hit them, you can't do it. Because that's how the game is programmed.
And a smart backup strat here to be using the lamp. This does give him a little bit more fire rod to work with in the back half, and potentially a powder if he wants to use it.
So we hand in the purple chest, we get 20 rupees, and we go where? And yeah, sure, grab the fairy. Why not? It's right there.
I mean, you do have 4 bottles to work with.
What happened with that bomb? Oh, hello there, Armos.
Hey, Armos 2 from hell.
Yeah.
I don't even know if
he's... the spikes absorb the hits or something?
I don't know, but like, it looks like they're taking damage from it, because I don't think Armos is coded to be an exception to the spikes.
Yeah, Mofula is... I don't know how this is supposed to work. I don't know how this is supposed to work.
Well, so, I mean, I do know that if you do 2 different damage sources at the same time...
Okay, we're fine.
On his last arrow!
That looks so weird.
He had no more arrows to work with. What was he gonna use? a spookied fire rod, maybe?
Day 1 of Randomizer week. Day 1.
All I know is Siberianbull putting on a display for us for how to react in clutch ways when you don't expect something to happen. That could have much worse.
Well, Walter remembers items and will just go straight for the boss. You know, bring out the book, check the ped, blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. And Walter's also gonna fall into holes here like 5 times. Yeah, 5 times probably. Walter, what are you doing?
Look, he's just enjoying a scenic descent into madness.
The slow or fast?
Maybe both in his eyes.
I guess so. So what's left? Hera, Spy Cave.
Yeah, Hera, Spike Cave. I don't think we've really missed a whole lot else. We've done pretty much everything in dungeons. We didn't kill Cold Stare, but I think we had all the items in there. Not Cold Stare, the Ice Palace boss.
Yeah, Walter left pretty early, so I presume all three were picked up.
Yeah, we've really reduced it down to like the nittiest of grittiest remaining items. At this point, I want to say that we're probably going to find Boots and Hera.
It's a good thing everyone skipped Hera twice this seed. I don't know how Armos works in this room. I don't think anyone does.
Well, I'll tell you this much. The game is programmed to move off of the arc variable, something that you might see relevant in a Ganon fight if you're slow in Armos 2 in an MG speedrun, which basically dictates the rotational pattern of these enemies. Now, the thing is that these bounces don't really expect the conveyors, and so they are getting moved in ways that offset that pattern. I don't know how that impacts the actual arc variable itself, but it is a sequence that repeats, so that might explain why we're seeing some screen wrapping. But Walther, being, pretty efficient in this fight, still has 6 arrows to work with. That was a good fight.
I heard the word variable, and then Brain just went to, no, I'm not doing this today.
They do spinny things.
I guess it does things, and it does things.
There's a good chance it doesn't affect that variable, though. I mean, that's just kind of like a timer. It counts up and down. So they should be good, but, it's just like, with those conveyors, you never know what to expect.
What happens if it gold splits, though?
If it gold splits?
Yeah, because it's on a timer, so if it gets a gold split, it'd be a new P, right?
You could have some real weird fire bats, or maybe like a strange Argus cycle. That might happen.
It's a good thing that you're serious and I'm not. The roles have been reversed. So is Walter finally gonna do Hera? We're just gonna go up here for Spy Cave.
I will say that stuff I said was real. That's some real things that actually impact some speedruns, but not in this way. Randomizer, very different. So, like you mentioned, Tower of Hera, this seems to be the likely place for Boots. Spike Cave could be too. So which will he do first?
Hera. And yeah, I don't question your knowledge on anything, Yuda. Just your puns.
I think that's actually pretty fair.
You're welcome.
And flattering. Thank you.
Aww. There's still no raise for your salary, though.
Yeah, I don't expect to be able to redeem that part. Alright, there's a big key. We do not have the components for a friendly setup for a Hera pot. You might see Walther do one anyway, though. There is a bootsless setup, or several bootsless setups.
Walter almost locked himself there on top of 2 things.
Looks like a regular climb for Walther today.
Okay, well, sure, why not? That's a fun roller. Goodbye, roller. Hello, roller. Goodbye, roller.
You just hope not to take too much damage from those. But the interesting thing about this race so far that I'm noticing here is that Misery Mire is really all that separates Siberianbull from Walther's position here. Hera could potentially be a time sink, and if Siberian were to go to Spike Cave first, there could be a closer race than it appears.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's time for the guess. Where is the Boots? Are they in that one location in Hera, or are they in Spike Cave? Because I don't think there is any other. Get your guesses in now, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of hope for Tower Room at this point in the basement, just because, there's this, well, I don't know if you folks know about pot spin speed, but if you're holding a pot while you have spin speed active, you can do this real funny thing where you zoom around the room when you walk into a staircase holding it. So I was hoping Walther might show that off. But we'll see. We got a boss here. Looks like Cold Stare.
Ah, hello there. 2 cold stares. This is a fun arena to fight cold stare in, by the way.
Yeah, some of these bounces, not really all that fun. But I guess the Fire Rod splash damage a little more effective in this kind of arena.
I mean, it's not like you can get knocked down and have to redo the fight, which includes phase 1, but we got our compass, so there's an item in the basement. And Walter doesn't want that. Goodbye, pendant. I don't want you. Okay.
He triggered the LSD effect. That's awesome.
Okay, Walter, it's time for basement.
Oh, wait, what was I talking about? You can't even do that fun speed thing because we don't have boots. Oh, it feels bad, man.
Oh. Well, so much for the salary talk.
Yeah, I may have to recuse myself from those discussions henceforth. But this is an opportunity for Siberianbull to potentially put himself back in the picture. We have a oh gosh, what do we have here in Vitreous's location again?
Mothula.
Mothula. Okay, yeah. So he's got a Mothula fight ahead of him, and then just needs to come up to the. Well, actually, he hasn't done the Smith Chain, so we don't have an Ice Rod yet for him, which is very likely to be needed in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, that does seem quite probable. The only double we've seen is Slanmolus and Colster, so there is one more. No, wait, we've seen... Ah, there are the boots. They were there all the whole time. We're in go mode.
Yeah, so Walther able to kill every boss, able to use every single item restriction here, will be very quickly, I think, finishing up Desert Palace, depending on the enemies, and then heading up GT.
So how often do you tend to be in go mode at the 1 hour 45 minute mark?
I'll say about as often as I see my opponent's dot done in 1 hour 45, to be honest with you.
So, are we sure this isn't accidental cross keys week?
You know, I think I'd be pretty happy if I had a 145 go mode and cross keys.
I think a lot of people would.
Either way, this is shaped up to be quite the long race. Certainly not a comfortable position for any runner. And I gotta think, like, this feels like a bad race.
Let's actually just try and remember the seed. We had a completely dead Kakariko, which is a bunch of early game fetch quest items, and then the waterfall area had some goodies. Then you needed to go into Pendant Pod to get your bombos, so you could do Swamp. And you needed to do Pendant Hera Basement.
Yeah, we found that bow from the old man, so once we had the lift, the light, we went up to the tower. I mean, the boots may have actually led us astray if we found them earlier, but I mean, because we only needed them for desert so far. Who knows about GT Key yet, but you know, we haven't had any other hard locks, you know, centered around it, so hard to say whether it would have been better to get it sooner. Usually you want them for the time save, but who knows how far of a divergence that would have put us on.
Well, I mean, Siberianbull could not have checked it during the first visit because they didn't have any fire source when they went up there. Walter did. Because you could have combined the boot checks with Graveyard Ledge, Kingstone.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't get that fire rod till the floating island, and we didn't have the lamp until... I don't even remember where the lamp was. It wasn't convenient to be... Yeah, it wasn't good for the sequence break the Siberian was doing.
Yeah, it was early Skullwoods.
Alright, well, a Sandy Helmosaur King taken care of here by Walther. I don't believe we've seen another one.
I think that is the only one.
Still one more boss to be repeated, and we have not seen a Trinex yet. So Siberian will end up getting his Ice Rod actually right here. Still needs the pair of boots in the basement of Tower of Hera in order to get into go mode. Oh, I guess there's a game we play, right?
Yeah, you mean that there's a big key in Ganon's Tower and you pick a random number, and if you're right you get a bunch of magical points.
22 locations, actually. So go ahead and get your guesses in chat, folks, if you like to play those games. We do a little leaderboard thing. It's a fun little tradition. It's kind of like, what do they do in SMRPG? Call your shots for the minecart game. It's like that.
I've never played that game, but I know about doubling your coins.
Also pretty awesome. But so, yeah, 22 location, get your guesses in. As soon as we enter the tower, we're cutting it off. Obviously, this isn't like a neck-and-neck situation. It could be a try-neck-and-neck situation, depending on where it is in GT. But Walther will be the one we count off of.
Yes, we will count from Walther.
As he approaches... as he approaches GT. And hopefully the conclusion of the race, Old Spagga Jackson looking to get their 3rd win on the season. Super Salty Dungeoneers potentially living up to their name. This is kind of a bad feel to be in this position because like I think it's really the early double dip into, or the double down on Palace of Darkness that really cost him this race.
Which is unfortunate because it was the right call to go there and go pick up bombos, which you needed for Swamp. Walter had to double dip Swamp as a result of that, but unfortunately, pursuing the boss and taking the death and going back in, it's just unfortunately too much time that front, and opting for ice here over Spy Cave. I mean, at this point, you've been up the mountain twice, and if you were going to check those locations, you probably would have. Walter's already done this play.
Yeah, so I mean, great play from both of these two. It's definitely Walter's race to lose at this point. He's been playing really well all throughout this entire seed.
That's an enemy.
What kind of enemy?
Wait, isn't that like a regular green guard that doesn't chase you?
Was that my nightmares?
Only with the Tree of Language. No one's gonna get that reference.
3 locations down, a piece of heart on the torch, so the boots only being a desert barrier today. Otherwise, we have everything else we need. Walther gonna move on to the Stalfos kill room here. Whether or not he chooses to kill what are definitely not Stalfos, remains to be seen. I think it might be a strong play to go right after this for that reason. He will go full left, though, instead.
This room is just really fun for Siberianbull. Just, you have 2 thieves on your... and just... I don't even.
Alright, so I think that was 7 things total of BMOs here. Holding a compass.
I didn't even know that was something that could work, but apparently... Didn't he just, like, walk into the room and immediately...
so 8 locations down. As we see Siberianbull making his way all the way down to the boss fight here in Ice Palace. So we will actually get the information, well, actually, I'm not sure. If he ends up doing the boss, then we'll find out whether or not Trinex is here or in GT, or potentially both.
And that depends entirely whether or not Walter got all 3 items here earlier.
Walther making his way on to Rando Room, as we like to call it. You'd never see this in a speedrun normally. Getting all 4 of these item locations. I believe this puts us up to like 12 or something, or maybe 13. I can't count.
Yeah, math is overrated.
I promise to do puns, not math.
And variables. Well, we did get half magic, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that would have been 12 total so far. Math puns, chat. You have a higher opinion of me than I do.
Yeah, we just had pie.
Okay, so our tracker Elbot02, thank you for keeping us on the up and up. Reminding me that it was 13 so far. So this should be our 14th check, which would be Bob's traditional check. This Stalfos head, not as friendly looking,
Hello
in my
there.
opinion. And there he is.
We've been waiting for you.
You know, if you liked the right half of this fight, normally,
This is great.
Imagine if the whole floor was like that.
Oh boy. This looks awful in every possible way.
Interestingly
Except the
enough,
ice
the ice
attack
head
is-
in this situation looks like the firehead.
Yeah, and it does absolutely nothing with its attack.
This is potentially perilous for Walther here. Has to be very careful to. Okay, he does have a blue potion, so he's gonna be able to bail himself out with that. Might want to use fire rod shots to finish this off.
Nice bonk there, protecting himself from a hit. Bad for your fantasy points, though, I guess. I don't know, I don't care about that.
All right, now for the truly scary part. Can you sword spin without getting locked into the corner?
Nope. There we go.
That'll be good enough to take on the Trinex and move on towards a hopefully less weird-looking room. The shell notwithstanding, that'll be silver arrows for Walther, even more to work with, and his big key. So that should be number 17, I believe. Before we put any commands in, somebody please double-check that.
Can the great savior of this entire event, our tracker,
good enough for Walther to head up the tower? Siberianbull, having found all of the items in Ice Palace, will be leaving Ice Palace, presumably to head up to the mountain, which is where he needs to be.
So, which boss haven't we seen yet? We haven't seen Blind.
Congratulations to Elbato2, our tracker today, who also, interestingly enough, won the guessing game.
But if we go back, we haven't seen Bland. Yeah, Bland is now Blind's name. We haven't seen...
As Walther makes his way up to the top of the tower, never a better time to mention and remind you folks, give these runners a follow, check out our tracker. These folks are the reason that this show exists. To be real with you, Marjevich and I are just talking heads on mics. We enjoy this, but these folks are doing the hard work.
They sure are. Okay, so what have we left? Blind, Moldorm, and a second boss, I believe. Because we never saw.
Alrighty, this will be a spike cave for Siberianbull. An understandable decision to make, one that we almost expected Walther to make as well. But that will almost immediately after lead him to a save and quit and the Tower of Hera basement once he finishes the rest of that sequence. Had not even... Uh-oh. Bull, no!
We're gonna have a long talk after this, you and It's gonna last for 2 seconds. What a great way to end this race.
Do you want to say sorry for talking all over you? For whatever reason, weird Discord thing. But I can hear you now, Marjevich. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's just a perfect way to end this Randomizer. It's just a cherry on top. Oh, there you are. We've been waiting for you.
I hear he's supposed to have 2 eyes, but I think he looks better with 3 or more.
I actually think it looks really weird with that many eyes.
What is he supposed to have, like 7 or something?
No, 2. It gives me nightmares.
Well, that is almost all the bosses of GT. Walther still has whatever's in the Moldorm 2 room, which we know is not going to be a Trinex refight. Or he has the Magnum 2 fight to consider, but beyond those 2 things, that's all that separates him from Ganon.
So I do believe we can confirm Blind is in Ice Palace.
Yes, because every boss does show up.
And we have a double left, which will be for the Moldrum 2 fight. Well, never got blind on ice.
You know, I mean, for all the things that these two have been through in this race, I think it's only fair.
It's a 2-hour seed.
Alrighty, that red Igor not gonna bow lock us at this point. Here comes Vitrius.
Oh wait, we haven't seen Mitris. Or have we?
I'm losing track of my sanity at this point.
So which bosses were doubles? Lenmola's
Armos.
and
Whatever's on ice.
Colster.
Yeah. We saw one at Moldorm 1.
It's been 2 hours. Oh, those spikes lined up perfectly. Okay, we're done with the Randomizer now, for Walther, that is. Siberianbull still has a little bit to go.
Yeah, so a alarmingly normal fight here. Aghanim 2. Some very unfriendly patterns, but at least it's regular.
Yep.
That's a pretty nifty double.
Oh, come on. Get the ball in there too early, so I didn't shoot another one, and now you get blue.
Although I will say that delaying that spin actually worked out pretty well for Walther there. Both runners have a boss down here.
And Siberianbull has to go through the basement and get the Gomu boots. And Walther has one boss left to kill, and a happy 2-hour mark. That's an interesting bat.
What is this, marks from Kirby?
I've never played a Kirby game, so I'm just gonna agree.
A very terrifying, horrifying boss that will haunt your nightmares, so probably avoid that game. But here's Ganon.
That probably sounds like something that would be in a Kirby game. That's a good setup.
And what is it with Nintendo and Vor?
I have no idea.
Alright, well this looks to be a good setup for a 1+1. Walther getting some dashes in. Might not have been enough, it looks like.
It was.
Oh, we got it. Yeah, making that look a lot easier than it is. The spins plus dash setup is something that you have to have so committed to muscle memory that you can just summon the correct response to every single warp pattern. So Walther's clearly put in the work on this fight.
May have done this fight like once or twice before. Or maybe even thrice before. Why do I talk? Like, why do I talk? Why do I open my mouth?
Well, because you're a treasured voice in the community, honestly. But Siberianbull getting the boots go mode right as Walther takes that fall. Walther, what ended up happening there is anytime you get hit with a fire bat from Ganon, he will actually invert your D-pad direction that you're holding in that moment. So if your goal is to not fall off the ledge, you need to actually point yourself like towards the ledge with your D-pad when you know you're going to take the hit. Walther probably didn't think he was getting clipped by that fire bat.
And now Ganon will have different RNG as a result, so we're doing Ganon twice.
That's a good point. All the RNGs for these bosses that are, heavily influenced by RNG, say like Warp Patterns, Aghanim 1, Aga 2, and Ganon, they're going to be consistent across the randomizer seed for both runners, but the second time is always a brand new roll of the dice. And there's 50-50 odds here with warps, so you could end up warping for quite a while.
Oh, yes. But this is a really good one.
Yeah, I think anybody takes that in their MG run for sure. A nice half-chord fire rod torch glitch.
just playing it safe, just going for a single there due to the fire bat direction and get number 4.
All right, so a minor gaff, but Walther the Fourth gonna pull it out here and win his week 3 Randomizer match against the Super Salty Dungeoneers, represented by Siberianbull9. We'll finish with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 4 seconds. GG.
And that's gonna feel real good for Walter after the loss versus the Cell Shaft yesterday, being able to bounce back immediately and take another win and 3 points for the team.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's really impressive that he's able to do this turnaround after having literally just been yesterday, the end of Ambrosia Week, in a brand new format. Looks like we are joined by our winner, Walther. Congratulations, GG.
Yo, thanks, GG's. So, okay. I usually have like one general rule when I play Randomizer, which is clear everything on the mountain when you're up there. And every time I break it, this happens. I should just continue always clearing the mountain.
So, Walther, this has got to feel great. I mean, it sounds like, or at least the impression I'm getting is that you really wanted to get Randomizer out of the way. I mean, that's why you did the first match of the week, right?
Not really. It just ended up, it just lined up like that. But it's definitely nice after losing yesterday to get like a win right away, so I can like help out my team somehow at least.
Well, I will say that being division rivals, you know, I wasn't necessarily hoping, you know, for a Walther win on that front, but it was really exciting to watch. And I think with how many weird turns this Randomizer win and how many weird tangents we went on as commentators, I apologize. That's mostly my fault, not Marjevich.
I take full responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was a good show.
I felt like my routing was okay. There was definitely things I could have done better, but definitely like the Randomizer just strictly punished me a couple of times for how I routed.
So I wanted to ask you, you know, briefly while we have you here for an interview, Walther, you know, what your thoughts were on how you were approaching dungeon bosses in this Randomizer race. I know this is really the only Randomizer race you got to do for the entire, you know, season. So did you have a certain strategy in mind? Did you want to try and find out what they were and then, you know, worry about the items? Or were you trying to like be ready for every boss?
Well, it's maybe the only Randomizer because we do have a certain amount of chance of getting it in mystery as well. But it's quite unlikely in mystery though. But I don't know, I like it when you don't have hookshot or like any way to kill Trinix or a cold stare. It's sometimes a good idea not to like dive dungeons too early, but at the same time like our options in the seed wasn't too good. Like I tried to do a lot of overworld before I jumped in too many dungeons, but then like when I finally went into Swamp, it was cold stare of course, and I got like the bomb was right after going out there. But yeah, it's sort of like a hard balance to walk, I think, to know like when to dive dungeons or not. If you get like hookshot and fire rod early, then I think it's pretty safe to just go into dungeons, unless you get unlucky and get like double Trinix.
All right, so I have to ask you this question as well. Who wins the MVP in the Hyrule Most Rude Enemy contest for this seed?
In this seed in particular, I don't know. I don't remember any specific. I guess BMOs. Those BMOs early on, when I tried to fire bombs, they were kind of rude. And then like there was another one. Yeah, there was another one in Hookshot Cave as well. Yeah, I guess the BMOs were pretty rude in the seed.
I don't know. It must be a breath of relief to be done with the Randomizer seed for the week, and then there's still, of course, next week possibility. But I mean, this is effectively most people's end of Randomizer once they do it this week. We didn't see any cannon guards. I'm pretty upset about that.
Oh, you're right. We didn't. I actually like enjoy Randomizer. This one in particular though was pretty like I don't know, a little bit of combination of like the item location was almost like more annoying than the like Randomizer itself. It could have been a super fast seed if you went into Hera before checking bubbles or Ether tablet, because then you would have pretty much been in go mode. No, actually, that could have actually been super bad as well, because then you probably didn't get Ice Rod before Ganon's Tower. So yeah, I guess the item location was my biggest issue in this one. But everything automatically goes slower in Randomizer just because you can't do like the prepared strats in every room. You have to like adapt room by room.
Yeah, that is a very fun component of it, and it does shake things up a lot, which makes for some pretty hilarious comedy. Naturally speaking, it helps. Well, folks like me, Marjevich actually is funny, but it helps folks like me become funnier. So we had a lot more humor in the mic than you normally hear.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think like in terms of entertainment value, Randomizer is definitely up there in one of the best ones, I think.
Some liberties were taken today.
Air quotes, some.
Yeah, I guess, but air is everywhere, so, I mean... I have no idea what I'm talking about.
So you're telling me there was a lot of puns in this one?
It has truly been an experience.
I leveled up.
Such an experience that, I mean, like, even though both of you did play pretty well, I mean, it's not surprising to us to see, and I mean this with respect to Siberianbull, that this is like a 2-hour 3, 2-hour 12, 15-minute seed, just because of how many ups and downs we've seen with the item layout, as you mentioned. And I agree with you. That was one of the most rude things about this, just the fact that you had to double back for that bombos, you had to double back for, the fire rod. These are all inconveniences that, in a normal randomizer stink, but normally you're not dealing with BMOS and Dead Rocks and mini Helmas in the water. A lot of strange things happen in this race. So, Walther, who else from Old Swagga Jackson's going to be racing this week against the Super Salty Engineers?
Kern is racing. He's the other one in our team racing. I did see, as the delay was catching up, that he was mocking me in chat, so I'm gonna look forward to mocking him even more when he's running.
The gauntlet's been thrown, team-on-team action going on here, as we get Trinex from Siberianbull here in the basement of GT, so, just a climb to separate him from the rest, presuming the rest of this fight goes well. 168 items, Walther. How does that feel?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's pretty much like a full clear in a non-key sanity seed, so seems about right. At least I didn't get a lot of bonks for the fantasy owners.
Putting priorities where they should be, I'm presuming. Well, Walther, any other thoughts about this race or about this seed, maybe the league format itself? We have kind of a few minutes here before Siberian makes his way up to the top of the tower.
I'm like actually super hyped for this week because Randomizer, I think it's a lot of fun. And then the next coming 2 weeks, like I think these 3 weeks is, for me personally, my favorite weeks because Randomizer is really fun. Like Mystery, you get Mystery overall I think is like one of the best game modes out there, and then you have Cross Keys, which is just like probably my favorite game mode out there, so I'm super hyped coming up.
I cannot express how grateful I am that I don't have to race you that week.
Boo.
Actually, I think Yoshi's on Skis will be racing Super Salty Dungeoneers that week, so maybe I actually stand a chance compared to one of you three.
I mean, in Cross Keys, and everyone can beat anyone, right? Like in a normal mode, that's possible, but in Cross Keys it's even more possible because it's more volatile, right? So
I don't know.
You
I'm
never
not-
know. You should never count out anyone. I don't think.
You know, I think that's a takeaway that we've had from this league so far. You know, a lot of really amazing upsets. You know, that depending on your perspective, you know, some people have been kind of favored to be untouchable in this league, and they've lost matches. So, I mean, something to consider for going forward. These more expanded formats do offer some extra opportunities for people to do things that they're not expected to do.
By the way, that Ice Trinex fight, that's pretty much like how every fight looked like when people were like kids fighting against the normal Trinex.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost kind of like using bombs on Helmasaur. Like, we all did that growing up, right?
We were all still kids who were 4.
I had no idea you could throw bombs until I started playing Rando, actually.
Now I feel bad. Thanks, Walter.
So, Walter, I have a really serious question.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Old Swagger Jackson come from?
The name?
The name and the being, if it is a being, because I don't know.
So like when we joined the league last season, we didn't really have like a good idea on what to name the team and where our logo should be. So we ended up, if you look in chat right now, you see one emote from each of our Twitch channels. So we just took the head of each of those emotes and put them on Trinex. So old is Kern, and the Swagga is just the Aga, and then Jackson is Michael Jackson.
Amazing lore. Just fantastic.
Yeah, fun fact, that's what Trinex evolves to if you were a Pokemon.
Is it by level or stone or happiness, friendship, blah blah blah, etc.?
That's a
Very
good
important question here. Very important.
By a very old singing Swagstone, I guess.
When evolves when leveling up knowing sing.
That. There you go.
Okay.
I'm just wondering when the world tour of Trinex is going to be, because I mean, it sounds like there's a concert tour planned.
I don't know, you have to ask Mark about that. He's the one who sings in our team.
Well, Siberianbull still climbing. There's a little bit more to go here.
Well, so I also wonder, like, maybe Mark will know this, but I mean, will you be able to get backstage passes? I mean, it is a Trinex fight. That joke didn't land.
Oh, it took me way longer than I'm proud of to figure out what you meant there.
I still haven't figured it out.
Because you can do backdoor strats on Trinex.
Yeah. So what's the yoke?
Backstage passes for the concert. Old Swagger Jackson.
Yeah. What's the yoke?
I think you're talking about eggs, not jokes.
Huh?
Nah, I'm mocking your accent. That's not fair.
Huh?
the diffusal here is pretty effective. All right,
There
well,
are
back to
things happening here, and I have no idea.
I feel the same way about this Vitreous fight. So, Siberianbull here, taking on Vitreous at the Moldorm 2 location. Silver Arrow's equipped, ready to charge his way over. Finally done with the Randomizer portion of this race.
I'm still a bit sad about the Cuckoo Hut just having 4 vanilla cuckoos.
Yeah, I was kind of sad about that too. I even put in, like in the notes for this game, I put in a text saying, "Is this even animized?" And I was totally thinking about the chicken hut, because sometimes you just get like chickens there, and it's kind of sad.
Because those only have a small pool of things they can even shuffle with, right?
I think so. It's like most of the times you just have guards in there, but there can be a couple of other things. I don't know what the restrictions are, but I'm pretty sure there are some.
Well, there were a few very strange, estranged possibly, chickens found in the rest of the world. The one in Misery Mire, this is the part that doesn't make sense to me. You'd think that like they'd take environmental damage from the spikes, because I was really hoping to get a Kuko Storm somewhere.
The one in Dark Cross was also pretty funny with all the red guards.
Yeah, I felt bad about that one because I had my blue cane on and just trashing the chicken. Oh, also my fall on Ganon. Like as soon as I got hit, I let go of my D-pad and I still fell. I felt pretty bad about that.
That's extra yikes. Because actually, I had said something about that at the moment, so it sounds like, yeah, it's just one of those situations where the knockback was enough regardless.
Yeah, maybe I released the D-pad too late or something.
Well, we have reached the top of the tower. We have flown all the way over the pyramid. Gonna be a gold sword silvers fight here for Siberian Bull. Should be a very rapid fight overall. This is probably the more comfortable fight out there.
I'm guessing the last. Oh, sorry, I'm guessing the last sword was on Helma or the green pendant.
Green pendants.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, we really didn't leave any other stones unturned.
Yeah, the red boomerang wasn't picked up, but it was in the hammer pegs, I think.
Yeah.
We only would have missed Boots locations.
Yeah, because both of you did, in fact, go mode Boots in the seed. Siberianbull getting a double here. That is a...
Kind of surprised he was able to get the torch from there.
It's really interesting. And a good finish to this rather sluggish seed, honestly.
All right, well, that will be a finish for Siberianbull9 here. With an official SRL time of 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 10 seconds. Looks like he's about ready to join us here for the interview. And we are also joined by Siberian Bull. GG.
GG's. I left those boots alone in Tower of Horror so long they were able to drink and smoke at their age.
That is a variable amount of time depending on where in the world we're talking about, but that is quite a long time. I definitely understand the sentiment.
I also got real stubborn about that pod play, but I felt it was the right play, and I felt like gambling on that green pendant was the right thing to do. Ended up being a sword. I ended up getting butter, but, you know, aside from that, GG's, Walter.
Yo, GG's, dude. This was a rough seed.
It was. I actually felt pretty good because it was a slog of a seed. It's like the longer that it took you to dot done, I felt pretty good. And then I was in desert when you dot done.
Yeah, like I felt so behind for a lot of portions of this game. Especially like because you could have been in go mode super early if you found the boots early, but then eventually you would have ended up not being in go mode because of the ice Trinex.
Ice Trinex, yeah. Fortunately, that Bombos ended up having to be required too because we needed that just to get our mitts almost. Because to try and think of having to leave with that book that was in Swamp. To go to the back where that cold stair was, would have been rather yucky.
Yeah, I ended up having to double dip Swamp because I went to pod right after Swamp.
Yeah, I
didn't have the bombos or fire on.
I ended up doing an interesting world tour because I was going to go from Sank, but then just the way things ended up working out is I started from the house and did Hype Cave and went from the south all the way up and around to Catfish. And then after I did Catfish, I saved quit to do the pyramid, and then I pretty much almost immediately after that went to pod.
Yeah, those going into pod is a pretty nice play. I actually thought about doing it too, just because like it was a pendant, and so if you can't beat the boss, it doesn't really matter too much.
Honestly, when I looked at the map and I saw that green pendant pod, the voice in my head is like, "You have to go to pod. It's gonna be required." Ended up being a lot of garbage in there outside of the bombos and the green pendant, which turned into a sword.
Yeah, that's the one thing I managed to skip was that boss and like Spike Him, I think.
Yeah, it was a Lambo, so there was 2 Lambos in this seed. I did enjoy seeing that Armos Knights on in Skull Woods, because I actually had that Armos Knights a couple nights ago. So I was like, oh, well, one of them's going to go in their own direction. And then the final night I missed, so it ended up getting trapped at the bottom of the screen, so it doesn't ever come back onto the screen. So fortunately I was able to get 4 arrow shots on it.
Yeah,
That
a
was
lot
really
of
weird.
yeah, a lot of the bosses kind of like freak out in Skullwoods.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, GG's, dude, and thanks for the commentary and trackers.
Yeah.
Our tracker today being Elbato2 had to step away right at the end, but basically keeping us on the straight and narrow for a lot of this stuff, including GT stuff, which I'm glad because I'm bad at math. But more importantly, these 2 runners, folks, if you haven't had a chance to check them out on their own channels, do so. These 2 have put on a really fantastic show for us today, and I'm sure they might not necessarily feel this was a fun one at all points, but it was fun for us to watch at least.
I mean, from my perspective, it was fun. Just coming up a little short is one thing, but you know, I thought it was fun because I thought I was close until I wasn't.
Yeah, I thought it was fun too. It was just, you know, stressful and a bit frustrating on top of that.
Well, so we've already faced off against Old Swagger Jackson, Yoshi's on skis, but Super Salty Dungeoneer is still on the horizon for my team. Looking forward to that. I believe that's going to be a co-op week. Siberian, do you have specific plans for which remaining weeks you plan on racing?
Yeah, actually, because the way week 1 ended up turning out, I'm actually still racing the next couple of weeks, and my partners are taking over the last 2.
Okay, so then you won't even be in any of the co-op weeks.
No, I might end up being in the pilot week, but because just the way it ended up scheduling out is they would both need to do the co-op week and or the co-pilot week.
Well, it's starting to sound like your cross keys repertoire about to be tested.
I'm actually pretty excited about that because I've been practicing that the past few weeks, and I just need to straighten up a few things here and there.
Yeah, those connectors I think are the biggest things that are gonna trip people up.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about the week, but next week's the mystery week. So, but first we got to get through this Randomizer week.
Yeah, so your team, who else is going to be a representative this week for the Super Salty Dungeon?
Well, Dark Red was going to go week 1, but he ended up getting sick, and our opponents couldn't reschedule, so he's finally going to make his debut this week.
Oh boy, this is going to be exciting.
So yeah, I look forward to him. I don't have the schedule up in front of me. I think they're scheduled already. I don't know which day.
I think
looks
it's
like
on Wednesday.
Wednesday, 7 p.m. That is correct.
Yeah, he almost got confused with it being last week, but I had to remind him it was next week.
That is 7 p.m. Eastern time, by the way, which means that those of us who live in Central Europe, that's midnight.
Yeah, we just disregard those time zones entirely, don't we?
Yeah, we don't care.
Hey, big shout outs and appreciation for the international Zelda community. Despite the fact that everything seems to be centered around Eastern time, which I benefit from personally, we do make it all work. 64 matches a week, and despite the time zone differences, really speaks to the organizational stuff going on. And holy mackerel, 183 items. Wow.
Could have been better. But yeah, I understand the stress because I had to face Alex, who's also of European time zone, and ended up working out for me because the way my work schedule is, pretty much the front half of the week is just open, and I know how their hours, how I understand the time zone differences. So shout outs to anyone who actually volunteers for this and helps out, as this is pretty much a 24/7 operation almost for 7 weeks.
Well, it is a lot of fun, and speaking of being around the clock, quite a lot of Randomizer coming up ahead today, actually, for 6 more matches on the docket. On this channel, in just 2.5 hours, we'll have Fleck versus Dante, Skullwood's Big Skip versus the Titans Mitts, and then we'll also have another one on SG5 at the same time, Amarith versus Asclepios Rod. We have other matches at 640 on SG3, 710 in the ALTTPR League, 840 SG3, 910 the ALTTPR League 2, and that'll be it in Eastern Daylight Time, of course, for the rest of this evening. Tons of rando ahead.
Yeah, who knows? We may get 64 matches this week as well to be broadcast.
Hey, I'm definitely down for it. Well, I think that's pretty much everything on our front. Any closing thoughts from our runners today?
Not really that I can think of, except for thanks again and GG's.
Yeah, GG's.
Well, they said it best, folks. GG's. It was a fantastic race to watch. Just the first of an entire week of Randomizer. 63 matches remaining, depending on if you count the one that started around the same time. I've been Uday Monistic, joined today by Marjevich. Go ahead and close us out, man.
Well, there's a good amount of speed gaming channels, 1 through 6. Be sure to follow all of them so that you can keep yourself updated on when matches are played. As stated, there's a lot of matches, and there will be a lot of matches coming up even today and the upcoming days. And also the ALTTPR League channels. They're actually called the ALTTPR League. I don't know how many there are. I think there's like 4. So follow all of them as well to make sure that you always keep yourself updated on the content. And with all said and done, I've been Marjevich.
I've been Uday, folks. Have a good one.